A very warm welcome. A very warm welcome to today's session of Module 3 for Spark sponsored course on enabling technologies for electric transportation. For today's knowledge driven session, I request Dr. Arun Kumar Verma sir, who is currently the assistant professor at the Department of Electrical Engineering, MNIT Jaipur, with research interests including smart grid, microgrid, electric vehicle integration into the grid. All participants are requested to make note of their queries as the questions would be taken at the end of the session. I now call upon Dr. Arun Kumar Verma sir to start this enriching session. So,
Thank you, Divya. Thank you very much. So, last class, I talked about a full bridge DC converter. Then I talked about the design. I talked about some simulation part, not simulation, yeah, some waveform part, that how the waveforms are coming while doing those simulations in a full bridge DC converter. Then after that, I talked about what modifications we have made in this full bridge converter. Earlier, the converter which I have described or explained, I used PSM, phase shift modulation. And next time, in a modified one, we used a customized PWM, you can say, or modified PWM techniques. So in the both the cases, in the case one, I talked about the design procedure. Also, I talked about the various waveform of phase shift modulation, how the things are coming, and then after that, what exactly we did in our research, the modifications. And I also talked about that how these modifications are helpful in order to achieve the ZVS. Okay, so I just tried to share my screen. So just to give a brief of what exactly we have covered till now. Okay, after that full bridge DC converter, I talked about the customized PWM operated DC-DC converter for electric vehicle application. So here EV application means that we are going to charge the battery applications basically, or EV chargers. So in this, I talked about that how we have modified the width of the pulse. Okay, and once we modified the pulse width, how the operation of the circuit take place, which switch conducting, and how these switches are coming into ZVS. I talked about that once this, let's say here, this diode got sorted and there is a zero voltage across the switches, and that was the right time to turn on the switch. Okay, so I explained this during the operation. So each mode I have explained in the last class, mode 1, mode 2, like that. And at the end, I talked about this one, that how actually by modifying the pulse width, or by using customized PWM or modified PWM, how we are able to get the ZVS. Okay, so this I explained in detail, and the basic concept behind this theory is that your half Li square, that must be greater than CV, half CV square. Okay, if this is the condition, definitely you will get ZVS. And if this half Li square is not, or you can say half Li square is less than Cv square, that is the case when in case of PSM, you won't achieve ZVS. So ultimately, by just modifying the pulse width, we are able to achieve the ZVS. And once we achieve the ZVS, means we have a reduced losses, we have a higher efficiency. So ultimately, by doing a single change, that change is basically modify PWM, we are able to achieve the higher efficiency of a circuit. Okay. And apart from this higher efficiency, okay, one problem we have solved, that our efficiency is high, but we have some other problems, although also we have some other problems in the circuit. Okay, I'll talk about those problems, because by modifying the pulse width, we are able to solve one problem, that is what, our losses and efficiency. Okay, but still several problems still left. How to resolve those issues, or how to tackle the problem which are still there in the circuit? Okay, that we have to discuss in today's class. So just to continue from the last class, because I was here in the last class, now I'll talk about the some of the design things basically for a circuit. I mean, you are aware that this was the circuit for which the circuit which I was using. Okay, so how to design that? So design procedure is here, because you have to design a transformer, high frequency transformer, you have to design. So what will be the turn ratio? So this is the turn ratio in order to design that high frequency transformer. Now we have a one series inductor. If you have noticed in the circuit, you have a high frequency transformer, and in the primary side of the transformer winding, we have a series inductance. The value of series inductance can be calculated in this way: 1 minus D, resistance of battery, output current, switching frequency divided by switching frequency, and ripple current. Ripple current we can assume 5% or 10%, whatever, at what value we want to design the inductor, or at what value we are designing, we want to have a ripples in the inductor circuit, that we can accommodate here. And output capacitor we can design, that is I naught divided by 8 into switching frequency into delta VC naught. Delta VC is not but the capacitor ripples. Okay, voltage ripples in the capacitor. And here this delta I naught is your current ripples in the inductor. So these are the losses. These are the standard formulas. You can take those formulas from the data sheet of any MOSFET. Okay, or whatever MOSFET we are using. Let's say IRP 460, because in the earlier classes also I talked about you have a different type of MOSFET in the same rating. How to select that also I have discussed in the previous lecture which I have taken. So these are the losses. These are PC is the conduction losses, and these are the switching losses. So the formula for the switching losses or conduction losses are available in the literature. The value of this RDS on, okay, VF, that is basically forward voltage, and all those things are basically given in the data sheet of particular device. So we can easily take it from there, since we are working on the hardware, so we need a realistic data. So data sheet we can take those values, and we can calculate the value of the losses occurring in the circuit. Gate driver losses also we can calculate. These all data are available. Magnetic losses, that is eddy current losses, hysteresis losses. Then ultimately you have a total losses, copper losses, I square R, I mean primary, and this is a secondary. IP square RP, that is the basically copper loss in the primary. I square RS, that is the copper losses in the secondary. And these are the hysteresis eddy current losses. Kc and the value of beta can be taken from the core loss curve, that is also given in the data sheet, because you are using certain core, E core, S core, or a lot of cores are available. Okay, that depend upon how you design the circuit, how you design the transformer. So for transformer design, there is a book, because I designed that transformer for my work in renewable energy, and that we took from this R.W. Erickson. There's a chapter number 5, magnetics. Very detailed explanation is given in that book for high frequency transformer design. So after this power loss calculation, you can calculate the efficiency. These are the diode losses. Output current, you know, this value is standard and given in the data sheet. And efficiency you can calculate. Efficiency is nothing but output upon output plus losses. Generally, we write our efficiency as a output upon input, okay, into 100. So input is nothing but output plus losses. So simply you can write efficiency equals to output upon output plus losses. So calculate the value of output, and losses you have, since you have calculated all the losses, conduction losses, switching losses and all, and we can calculate the efficiency. Now you can see that when we use PSM, what are the switching losses, and when we use customized PWM, what are the switching losses. Okay, so switching losses, then conductor losses. Now you see here 11 point, or you can say 11 watt when we are using PSM, and when we are using customized PWM, just half. Okay, similarly conduction losses almost same here. Then losses in the series inductor, that will be same. So here you have reduced the switching losses. So if you see the total losses, 30 watt and 25 watt approximately. So these are the basically conduction losses and switching losses with PSM and with modified PWM or customized PWM. So you can see the value of losses. So obviously losses are less here in case of modified PWM or customized PWM. In terms of power loss evolution, so these are the observations that the switching losses occurring in the customized PWM operated full bridge DC converter is almost half in comparison to the phase shift modulated full bridge diode, full bridge DC converter, just half. Now battery charging, this is a both constant voltage as well as constant current charging. So from this T0 to T2, we have a constant current charging here, and from this T2 to T3, here we have a constant voltage charging. Okay, and at T3 there is a you can say floating type condition. Let's say you are in a constant voltage mode. So when the terminal voltage and your battery voltage are almost equal, the flow of current is zero. So you can see that here the current is almost went to zero. Okay, your current is almost went to zero. So this is the battery charging of battery charging from the proposed circuit, and these are the simulation results. You can see that from a PSM, here you can see the red line and this blue or green line. Ultimately, one switch is not off and still you have turned it on. So obviously this is the range where you can have a here, this point, see carefully here in this range. So this is overlapping. Okay, and this is nothing but this is a source of your P equals to VI, because still some voltage current left here, and that's why if you switch on that time, then definitely losses would be there. So here you can see this way these are the simulation result of the same proposed circuit when you are using PSM. And now if you use this PWM, here with PWM you have a zero voltage switching. Here you can see here there is no overlapping at all. One is completely zero, then after that only another switch is you turn on. When switch is completely turned off, then only we have turned on the switch. Okay, so this is basically the you can see the difference in the simulation result. Now again, if we move to the hardware part, these are the gating signals. You can see that the gating signal of switch 1 and 2 are like this, and for 4 and 3, the gating signal for 4 and 3 are this one. I have told you earlier, like we have taken for 1 and 2 45%, and then for another 3 4 we have taken 55% duty cycle. So these are the gating pulse for your customized PWM. Now this is not 50%. Okay, and these are the hardware results with phase shifted modulation. The same circuit run under PSM. You have a losses in the circuit. You can see here there are losses in the circuit. And if you see here, see this one, losses are 0, almost 0. I mean, theoretically we will say, or ideally we will say this is 0. But in the real sense, there may be some losses in a maybe watt, microwatt, or something like that. Okay, milliwatt. So ideally we say 0. Now moving further, okay. Now further, these are the further experimental results to achieve ZVS in all 4 switches. S1, S2, S3, S4, starting from light load to full load. Okay, you will see that ZVS is not getting lost. Now these are the one thing you have to see here carefully, that I'll explain again. So these are the voltages of the transformer primary. These are the transformer primary voltages. So you can see that these are the voltage spikes here. You note down them carefully. These are the spikes, voltage spikes. Okay. And this is a problem. These are the problems of the circuits, because we used customized PWM in order to do ZVS. Okay, and we got the ZVS. So the purpose of achieving ZVS is ultimately to increase the efficiency of the overall circuit by reducing the losses. But you can see in the transformer primary, these spikes are still there. Okay, and this is the secondary of the transformer voltage. So, or you can say secondary transformer voltage. So come to this, we have a, this is the efficiency. This is the efficiency, and you can see at power starting from 50 watt to 250 watt. The red one is the proposed and the blue one is the existing. So you can see that around 5% change in the efficiency here, you can see. So ultimately, in a certain load range, you will have a highest efficiency here. And how it possible? The efficiency which was 89% earlier, now this is 91. Now if you, so ultimately we have something good on the efficiency side. Now moving further, These are the conclusion for the concept which we have discussed, that customized PWM for a battery charger. Okay, so what ultimately you note down that with this customized PWM is better than the phase shift modulation. And how it is better? We have higher efficiency, we have a less losses. This is the first target which we have achieved, because earlier I told that for a charger we must have a low, or you can say reduce cost, weight and size. Reduce cost, weight and size. Reduce cost, weight and size, or increase efficiency. Okay, so ultimately with the help of this customized PWM, we have an improved efficiency in the comparison to the phase shift modulation, and that already we have seen. I'm not talking anything hypothetical. Already I have shown you that how the circuit behavior changes, circuit output changes when we are using customized PWM in comparison to phase shifted PWM. Okay. Circulating current losses, conduction losses, switching losses are reduced. That also we know. Proposed customized PWM gating technique is suitable for high power density and high efficiency power coordinating system. So basically this point is, I mean, the proposed customized PWM gating techniques are suitable for high power density and high efficiency. Yes. So obviously these two things we are able to. High efficiency we are getting. So high efficiency, high power density, both are interrelated. So all the results have been verified by the experiment. So this is something we did with the experimental result. Okay. So in the first topology, we just talked about customized PWM and one a small circuit. Okay, just an inductors in the series. Now, as I've told you earlier, if you see the slides, this slide, I have already explained that there is one issue in the results. That issue is nothing but the spikes basically. These are the spikes. These are the spikes. Okay, so we have to remove it. This is one of the challenges. So by keeping this thing in mind, that we must have a changes, whatever the earlier full bridge converter was doing. So in this converter or in this technique, we have a good efficiency, no doubt, but same time we have some disadvantage, high spikes. So what would be the reason of high spike, or you can say what could be the possible ill effect of this high spikes? You need a higher rating because this is peaking, I mean almost maximum going on. Okay, so you need a high value of current. So ultimately when you have a high current, losses will also increase. Ultimately things will deteriorate and overall efficiency of the charger will affect. So in order to remove, we further went to another topology that is called auxiliary inductor capacitor based DC-DC converter. Auxiliary inductor capacitor based DC-DC converter. So in this topology, we further modified the circuit, and you can easily recognize, the people who attended the last class, you can easily recognize. Earlier, I have this LSE in the circuit. Earlier, I have only series inductor, and that series inductor is here. Earlier, I have only this in the circuit. And the shaded portion, which you can see in the gray color, that was not there last time. Rest of the circuit was same. I'm repeating again. The only modification in this circuit is the shaded portion circuit. Okay. This circuit is implemented for a work, and earlier rest of the circuit is same. You have a series inductor, the transformer is same here. You have this portion. or the new circuit you have added here in this proposed topology. So once you added this new one here, how the behavior will change, that we have to see, and what kind of relief we will get in the some of the critical issues which we are facing in the circuit. Okay. Now with the customized PWM, we are okay with high power density, and another point was high efficiency. Okay, but now still few problems left, and just to remove those problems, we are using this auxiliary circuit here. Rest of the circuit will remain same, and this is the duty cycle of the, or you can say, PWM gating pulses. So here in this PWM gating pulses, this gray part, or you can say the shaded portion, we have appended in the circuit. Now further moving, this is the operation of the, actually I left one thing, actually I missed one thing. Just to begin this, just before beginning of this second topology, second proposed topology, basically we have to calculate the dead time. Actually, see, I forget to explain here. There is a dead time in between. See, once your switch is off and another one is turned on, so here you can say that these are the just like starting from zero. Okay, but ultimately there is a dead end here, or you can say delay time ultimately. So in our practical circuit, whatever we have developed in the laboratory, so we have around 450 nanosecond delay time, dead time. Okay, 450 nanosecond delay time. So for a design point of view, I talked about this transformer turn ratio, output filter capacitor. Now I'll talk about briefly about this dead time selection. Okay, because you have to calculate this, or you can read our papers basically how we have calculated this dead time. Okay, but I'll try to explain here with one formula. So I'll take around 5 minutes more just to begin with another topology. Okay, so basically I'm going for a dead time selection right now. For dead time selection, basically from the circuit you can see that to see that dV over, okay, I need to use pen, then only it will work. So you can write like current in the primary of the primary winding of the this transformer, because I'm not using board. So just a minute, just wait for 1 minute. Let me connect my board so that I can write easily here. So yes, I told that the dead time which we have here, that is around 450 nanosecond. Okay, so 450 nanosecond is, I mean, not a big deal. You can just have the simplest. So just to calculate this, because earlier I explained about the modes, so now just to calculate the dead time, this is nothing but 2C, sorry, 2C that is equals to IP. IP is nothing but primary current in the transformer, or you can say the current in the transformer primary. Okay, VS1 is the voltage at the input, C is the value of capacitor, and here we can see that T, that is given by over this primary current. Okay, so here this is equation number 2.18, or you can say simply 1, 2, or another equation is series inductor, that you can see from the circuit itself, and you can write down the equations. Dt plus equals to 0. So from here we can calculate, from these equations we can calculate VS1. Okay, and after that VS1 we can calculate the IP, that is primary transformer current, that also we can calculate from here. I'll write the equation for both. So the value of this VS1, that will come out to be the series inductor with the primary transformer, primary winding of the transformer, the capacitor, so IP this is basically the segment 0 to T1, T1 to T2, T2 T3, like that. So that is nothing but T minus T2. Okay, this is a VS1. Primary current of the transformer can also be calculated, like here you can give this equation number 1, 2, 3, this is a 4. So at T equals to 2, 3, which I explained earlier, that is basically the transient time TT, that is given by these are basically auxiliary capacitor at the time of resonance, because I'm talking about the transient, and this is supply voltage, because at T equals to T3, at T equals to T3, your VS1 is approaching towards VS. Okay, so that's why this here I have written VS, and this is IP primary at T equals to T2, and this is L series inductor, like this. So that delay time you can calculate. This is basically derived only, and in detail in our papers it is given in detail. So the total means you can say the minimum delay time, TD minimum, that is nothing but this equation number 2 plus equation number, this one will be the fifth, 2 and 5. So this will be the minimum delay time, means we must have a this much of minimum of delay time. Okay, and maximum delay time is nothing but, because this is a range, that how much delay time you can keep, means minimum to maximum, otherwise after that this soft switching will lost. Okay, so this is the value of minimum delay time, and the maximum delay time is basically TD minimum, which we have calculated here, this one, okay, or you can give equation number 6, and T5, that is basically the end of the cycle there, okay, T5, because if you remember, we gone through T0 to T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, okay. So this is the maximum delay time, so we must keep a delay time between TD minimum, which is coming here, and TD maximum. So in this delay time, you can easily have that soft switching, okay. So the delay time which I'm talking about right now, this is like that, let's say your switch is turning off here, so another you are turning on, okay. So the time basically left here, this stage, okay. You can see these things from the simulation result also. So I'm talking about this time basically in a practical, in our hardware, this was around 450 nanosecond, okay. It looked like that at the same instant one is turning off, another turning on, like that, okay. But in reality there is a dead time. That time is nothing but the way we have calculated, this is the delay time here. And this thing basically, which I have explained here, the delay time, we can see from the simulation results also, like okay, here we have this results. Let me first, here you can see here, I mean, here you can see overlapping, here you have a overlapping, this one. So here this is a overlapping, but you can see here, so here it look like that one is completely turned off, another is turning on at the same time, but there is a delay between one turn off and another turn on. There is a delay, and that delay we have calculated here, okay. So this is a way how to calculate the delay in the circuit. Now further, since we are facing problems in the earlier topology or this topology with the customized PWM, and the problem was the ripples, or you can say the voltage ripples or spikes in the primary of the transformer voltage, okay. And because of this, the problem is that we have a higher rating of the devices. Now how to remove that, okay. So in order to pay attention to the problem, we came out with another topology, and that is nothing but auxiliary inductor capacitor based DC-DC converter. So what we did, we have a now same circuit as earlier, but the new thing which we have added here, this is the new thing. This is the circuit which we have extra added into this, and this is called auxiliary network, okay. This is nothing but two inductor LA2, LA1 with a capacitor CA1 and CA2. Now how the circuit behavior will change? See, the operation which I have described earlier, mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, almost similar, but now since this IL1, IL2 are there in the circuit, so we have to think about this, and let's see how the circuit is working, okay. Because the working is almost similar, so I just try to describe it, may not go in the detail, okay. But if you have any issue, then please ask. So now this one, the capacitive here only a new auxiliary circuit we have added, that is given in the shaded portion. So if we move further, because we have some issue with the earlier circuit, so we are going for a new circuit. And now I'll try to explain it through mode 1 to mode 2, and after that almost similar to the earlier one. Okay, so here in this circuit, mode 1, starting from this T0 to T1. So in this mode, anti-parallel diode, here your anti-parallel diode, first you see the circuit. First you see the circuit. This is a switch S1, S1, S2, S3 and S4. So here the diode of S1 is called DS1, that is basically anti-parallel diode. For switch 2, this is a DS2. For switch 3, this is a DS3. For switch 4, this is a DS4. And this capacitor here, that is C4. So as per the switch, S1, C1, S2, C2, S3, C3, like that. And switch S1, S2, S3, S4, S. These are switches, and this is your bridge rectifier with output capacitor filter and battery. So moving further, now here mode 1 from T0 to T1. In this mode, anti-parallel diode DS1 and switch S2 are conducting. This is your DS1 here. I'll use some different color just to explain at least one mode properly. Okay, so this is your flow of current DS1 from here. Okay, and switch S2 here. This is your switch S2, this one. Okay, this one, switch S2, and this is DS1. So anti-parallel diode DS1 and switch S2 are conducting. So the voltage between A and B, this is your A point, this is missed here, A, and this is B, AB. That you can calculate. This VAB is nothing but the input VSI, okay, or the voltage across auxiliary inductors VAL1, that you can calculate. This is nothing but VS by 2, and for the another one VL 2, VLA1, VLA2, that would be minus VS by 2. So this is a VS here, and because this is auxiliary inductor IL1, IL2, so that voltage is dividing VS plus VS and minus VS, plus VS by 2, minus VS by 2. Secondary side diode D1 and D2, this side basically, secondary side, I'm talking about this D1 and this D2, this one. So secondary side diode D1 and D2 are clamped to the output voltage. First of all, the linearly rising primary current, that is IPT, the current which is flowing through this transformer, that is IP. Okay, so first of all, this is rising linearly. If you can see here in the waveform itself, if we have shown this okay, IL1, IL2, IP, here you can see this current is rising linearly like this way. Okay, this is a transformer current. So the linearly rising primary current, which is here, that you can also calculate. That is nothing but a simple inductor equation. From based on this inductor equation, you can calculate the value of this inductor current. Let me write here. I can just write, just to give you the idea that this is a simple mathematics which we are using for a boost converter or buck converter, that how to calculate that current. So this is nothing but this IP you can calculate now through this IAL1 or primary current that is increasing linearly. So that is nothing but N is your turn ratio, Vs is the voltage at the input, output voltage is V naught, and divided by the series inductor LSC. Okay, and that is from, because we are talking about T2 T naught. So this is nothing but just like the line passing through 2 points, something like that. Okay, y equal to mx, something like that, in that sense only. So the equation of this primary current is governed by this waveform only. Now the auxiliary inductor current IAL1, IAL2. So the voltage, basically the voltage across the auxiliary inductors remain constant with opposite polarity. Already I have described here, that is plus Vs by 2 and minus Vs by 2. Okay, so the voltage across this IAL1, IAL2 are same with the opposite polarity, and the current IAL2, basically this is IAL2 here and IAL1 here. So the current IAL2 through inductor LA2. LA2 is here. Okay, this is LA2, and the current flowing through this inductor is IALA2. IAL2 that are increasing, and in the IL1 it is basically decreasing, because I told you that they both inductor is having a same voltage but with opposite polarity. Okay, so in LA2 there is an increasing current, inductor current, and this IAL1 is decreasing, or you can say in inductor LA1 the IAL1 is decreasing. You can see from same from here. This is the expression like this. This is increasing, and here this is decreasing. So you need to just concentrate and read it carefully. You will get everything what exactly happening in the circuit. Okay. So the whole operation of this circuit is in 12 mode. So we can go for a 6 mode first, and then after that will be reversed for the another one. Now if you come to mode 2, in mode 2, that is basically T2 yeah, here mode 2, T1 to T2. Here mode 2, this one, that is from T1 to T2. So in mode 2 you can see that the flow of current now. Conduction of switch S2 and anti-parallel diode DS2. S2 is here and your anti-parallel diode DS2. Basically the conduction of this switch S2 and this anti-parallel diode DS2, that is basically dependent upon the magnitude of the primary current as well as ILA1 and ILA2. ILA1 is nothing but LA1 current, and ILA2 is nothing but inductor LA2 current. So now what exactly the purpose of putting that auxiliary circuit? Okay, the exact purpose of putting this auxiliary circuit is just to achieve the desired target, that in terms of our soft switching. That soft switching also we are getting through the customized PWM, but other problem are also left. Okay, so now we are targeting on that. So during heavy load condition means your SOC is very low. Okay, so during heavy load condition, your primary current, that is given by IPT, that is primary current of the transformer, this is always greater than the current in the auxiliary circuit, that is ILA2 minus I sorry, I'm writing like this could be written this IAL2 auxiliary current in inductor 2. This is the right way to write, minus IAL1. So now I'm talking heavy load condition. Heavy load condition, your primary current is always greater than this current. This here I have put minus, so always greater than this current, and divide by 2 because we have a division of the current. Okay, means we have a 2 anti-parallel that LA1 or LA2. And if the state of charge of battery is low, means fully charged, or that would be the light load condition. In light load condition, what will happen? This IPT is less than the same thing. The same equation will be here. You can write like this here only. Okay, so for both, whether this is a light load condition or heavy load condition, in a heavy load condition, your primary current is greater than the resultant of this you can say auxiliary inductor current, and in light load condition, this is less, IPT is less than the resultant inductor current or resultant current of the auxiliary inductors. So at t equals to T2, S1 is turned off. At t equals to T2, S1 is turned off, and this primary current and the IAL2 are moving toward its positive peak. You can see from here also. You can see from here also the positive peak here, like that. This is going for a IAL2 is going for a positive peak, and IP primary current here. So IP and IAL2 means your primary current, this is moving toward positive peak. IAL2 is also moving toward positive peak, because here this is a positive peak for this primary current and this inductor current. But your IAL1 will be moving toward the negative peak. देखो यहाँ पे reduce हो रहा है, then it is coming here up to the -1. Okay. Now coming to the mode 3. In mode 3, from T to T3, S1 is turned off. Current, that IP, this IP, okay, here, because the actual, I'm talking about this section now, T to T3. So S1 is turned off. Current, primary current of the transformer, that is IP, and the resultant current, that is nothing but IAL2 minus IAL1 by 2. Okay, now that is supplied by the C1 and C2. You can see here, these are the C1 and C2. You can see in the diagram. So this is your C1. Where is the C1? This is the C1, because C1 was fully charged earlier. Now C1 and this C2. Sorry, C1 and C4. I'm sorry. This is C4 here. So now the required current, means this IP as well as this one, the resultant current, that is supplied by the, you can see here, this is the direction of the flow of current here, like this. So the required current is basically supplied by the C1, and so what exactly happened? The C1 will charge and this C4 will discharge, and the current, this IAL1 and IAL2 become constant during this mode. So the charging and the discharging of C1 and C4 depend upon the load condition, whether this is a heavy load or light load condition. Listen carefully, that I told you that IP is greater than the greater than this current when this is a heavy load condition, and IP is less than when this is a light load condition. Okay. So depending upon the load condition, this C1 and C4 will behave, or simply we can say that charging and discharging of C1 and C4 depend upon the type of load we are using. Now, if we come to mode 4, here in mode 4, DS4 will be forward bias, and voltage of the primary side of the converter, that is nothing but the voltage of the primary side of the converter is VAB. Here it is written B, sorry. Here this is A and this is B. So VAB, that would be 0. Now DS4 is now forward bias, and the voltage of the primary side of the converter VAB will become 0. Here converter secondary side diode D1 and D2 claim the main transformer D1 D2. Here you can see D2 and D1, that is basically claim the main transformer, or simply which are helping in getting the output voltage. So in this interval, what will happen? Your IAL1 will be decreasing. You can see here, still decreasing here like this. Okay. And in this, your IAL2 is almost constant. And your transformer primary current is decreasing like this. So IAL1 is decaying. You can see in the result itself. And the voltage across LA1 and current flowing through this also, LA1 is here. Current flowing through this is also decreasing. So ultimately, out of these modes, I mean, this is a we can have a one cycle here, then after that same cycle will repeat. It will start. So the auxiliary inductor is to be selected such that the ZVS is ensured over the entire load range of the battery. Means the role of inductor selection is major role in this, because since I have already told you that the IP that must be greater than IAL2 minus IAL1 by 2. This is a one condition, and second condition is IP that is less than the IAL2 minus IAL1 by 2, like that. These are the two major conditions in order to achieve ZVS in the circuit based on this type of auxiliary circuit. So in that auxiliary circuit, what you have? LA1 and LA2. These are the major component of the circuit. So here in this circuit, we need to select them carefully so that we can achieve ZVS for an entire load range, whether this is a light load condition or heavy load condition. In order to fully discharge the switch capacitors C1, C4 of switches S1, S2, C2, C3 of switches, because C1, C4 already I have told you with respect to S1, S4. C2, C3 I didn't discuss because that will go in a similar mode. So ultimately, in order to fully discharge the switch C1 and C4, because I told you that the charging and discharging and C1, C4 depend basically on the condition, load condition, whether this is a light load condition or heavy load condition. Similarly, C2, C3 switches for S2, S3 within the defined time duration. So this should be the relation. I mean T2, T3, then T2, T5 to T6. So this should be the relation, that IS1 and current in the switch S1 and S4, that must be greater than or equal to this one, C1, C4. Okay. And these are related with this formula, this switches and this one. Okay. And for the switch 2 and 3, they are related with these formulas like this. So charging discharging of C1 C4, charging discharge of C2 C3, that basically depend upon the how we are selecting the value of those inductors, auxiliary inductors. That will define what exactly the depending upon the value of those inductors, we can define that how we can get those, how we can get the value of those how we can achieve the ZVS basically, depending upon the value of those inductors. So these are the charging discharging current, because this current, these are already I have explained in the waveforms. So just a mathematical one. Now, when you are using PSM, this is the value of the auxiliary inductor 1, and this is the auxiliary inductor 2 by using PSM. And by using this customized PWM, these are the value of the inductors. And if you compare both the value of auxiliary inductor 1 and 2, if you are operating with PSM, the 100 microhenry and 75 microhenry, and here you have only 14 microhenry and 10 microhenry. So you can see the difference: 100, 14, 75, 10. So they are huge. So you are able to reduce the size of the component. Once you are able to reduce the size of the component, the area required in order to house those components will also get reduced. The area used to house the component up, you have an inductor of 100 microhenry, and you have an inductor of 14 microhenry. So around 7 times, 1/7 size is reduced, and here also 10 and 7, so 7 times. So approximately 1/7 size is reduced if we are going for a customized PWM. And once your size is reduced, you need a less space in order to house it. You need a less space in order to house it. So ultimately what will happen? You will have a less area, or overall size of the system will reduce. Okay, overall size of the system will reduce. Now further, these are the parameters basically used. Design specification basically. We have used ETD core, MOSFET use IRP F460. Rectifier, these are the rectifier used. ETD core is used. Turn ratio 1.23. Series inductor 6139 microhenry. Auxiliary inductors 11L to 14 microhenry, like that. So the whole things tested over a TMS 320F 283790. This is a DSP controller. And IR 2110, this is a gate driver used for this purpose. And these are the battery operating point. When we charge that battery, start point, nominal point, transition point, again constant current as well as constant voltage charging. These are the results with the customized PWM. You can say clearly we are achieving that ZVS. That time which we have explained earlier, we have here. That time is already so you can see the losses basically, power losses. Okay. So LA1, LA2, all transformer. So the you can say the losses in each component you can calculate. This is with the customized PWM, this is with the PSM. So you can see the losses. Losses in the each component are reduced. These are the losses you can say here. Okay. These are the conduction losses here. You can see that these losses are also reduced. Now moving further. So these are the observation that rectifier losses are constant, whether this is a PSM or customized PWM. Magnetic losses are also less in the proposed converter with customized PWM. Conduction and switching losses are low due to variable pulse widths. So the real advantage is the third one, the conduction and switching losses. Now if you move further, these are the experimental results. But still we are having this problem. I mean, we are better than the earlier one, but still, I mean, this problem is still there. Okay. So I'll talk about this again. I will talk about this. This problem is still there. We'll talk about this. This is the efficiency estimation. With a customized PWM, you can see you have a higher efficiency. The first graph in a blue color, that is for a basically this is separate, like conduction losses, okay, power losses. So you can see that with a customized PWM, your results are always better. If you can compare also with the, this is a proposed topology, and this is the here in the earlier topologies, people use those PSM technique, and this is another trailing PWM. So they use two capacitors. We have also used two capacitors here. Inductor we have used two, diode 0, transformer, switches, and ultimately no snubber we have not used, because when we are using snubber, losses are all losses increases. Okay. So this is something our power rating and all device stress. You can say that we have a completely less device stress, switching stress or device stress, you can say 1.5 pro 1.73. So here we have 1, and from the other also diode stress is also reduced here, and device stress ratio is also least in our case in switches always in device. So this is the achievement by using this auxiliary circuit, and now we are able to achieve the ZVS. See, earlier circuits are always able to achieve ZVS in a heavy load condition, S1, S4, S1, they are able to achieve ZVS, but only in a heavy load condition, and that too in a 2 switches only. Okay, but here I mean, we are able to achieve at heavy load as well as light load condition. This is the achievement of this topology. So ultimately, we have an auxiliary circuit based ZVS DC-DC converter with a modified PWM or a customized PWM. So the last achievement of the converter in terms of auxiliary circuit component, output filter, total component count, fabrication cost, compatibility of achieving ZVS during full battery charging range is a superior, and the same was experimentally validated. Because if you see in the earlier circuit and this circuit, earlier circuit and this circuit, we have added another in the recent circuit, we have added a auxiliary circuit, and these are the advantage of auxiliary circuit. I told you clearly that the losses which we have is now reduced, and how they have reduced the size of the component, that is also reduced more than 1/7. Okay, So design procedure, I'm not going in detail for this because I just want to explain the other circuit also. So now what we did, see here in these results, again we have a voltage spikes. Okay, so in the third topology, what we did, we use auxiliary diode assisted DC-DC converter for voltage spike mitigation. See, with the help of customized PWM and with the help of auxiliary circuit, we have achieved something. Now one thing is still left, that was the voltage spike. So in order to reduce those voltage spikes, what people do earlier, what they did, they simply used either this snubber, okay, these are the different voltage spike techniques earlier people have used. They are either they are using this RC circuit, either they are using this RCD snubber circuit, okay, or either they are using this ATCD circuit, and either active clamping circuit. By using all those circuits, people were trying to, or they have suppressed the voltage spikes earlier, okay. But by using those circuits, there are different issues are there. I mean, if you are using this RC snubber, see, wherever R is involved in the circuit, definitely you have a losses. So by using this RCD snubber or something, ultimately we are increasing the size of the charger as well as we are increasing the losses, okay. So what we did, we simply used a diode, clamping diode like this in the circuit, okay. So here, by using this diode, between this this is your series inductor and this is your transformer primary, this is a transformer secondary. So what will we simply use one diode here, and by using this diode, basically when the sign changes here in this transformer primary, this diode get forward wise and ultimately provide the freewheeling part in order to flow the current. And whatever people have achieved with all those bulky circuit, that can be simply achieved with the help of this diode. So you can think that the cost of incorporating those circuits, okay, that is gone. Then apart from this, the area, because these are the bulky, where we are using only single diode in order to achieve the things, and here they are using some bulky snubber circuit or something. So ultimately we are saving size as well as cost also. And here simply the techniques work that when there's a reversal of the current, this can get forward bias and ultimately give a freewheeling freewheeling path in order to flow the current. And with this way, we are simply, this is the same method of this charging the battery. And you can see here in the results that these are the basically voltage ringing in the transformer primary and secondary, okay. These are the voltage ringings. But when you use when you use clamping diode, you have this type of waveform. So the voltage ringing totally vanished. You can see these are the voltage ringing earlier we are using, and now by using simple diode, we are able to reduce those voltage ringing. And same is here. See, voltage ringing in the rectifier diode, loud, this one. And now by using those clamping diode, simple, we are getting this way, okay. These are the component used for this technique. And now you can see simply the spikes, the voltage spikes which was earlier you have seen, now those are removed. No voltage spikes you can see here, okay. So that is simply a small thinking that just to put a diode, just to remove those spikes. So once the spike removed, your stress reduce, ultimately your size of the component, size of the current rating, I mean, all those things will be reduced and suppressed. And same time we are achieving this ZVS. And you can see the efficiency here. Our efficiency is 92% around, which was earlier with the phase shift modulation, this was around 89%. So almost 3% increase in the efficiency. This is a comparative study because the small problem that is can be just reduced with the heavy level clamping diode. And earlier people are using a bulky and as well as costly solutions. Okay, and that simply removed just a small thinking of putting a diode there, and diode take cares for everything. And the diode are hardly, I mean, 10 rupees diode only. Okay, where we are earlier employing a large circuit of Schneller circuit, RCD, HCT, so many circuit we are employing. But now with a small diode, we are able to achieve that. So this is something we published in IEEE IEEE Journal of Emerging and Selected Topics in Industrial Electronics. So here you can see the comparison. We are using three total auxiliary component 3, no snubber, auxiliary inductor value is here, switch type circulating current is less, and you can say power density, we have a higher power density from all 15, and we are getting a ZVS in all the four switches. So this is just a small thinking can do that wonders. So you can say by proposing this converter, I mean with the diode clamping, the voltage spikes at the primary and secondary side of the main transformer and rectified diodes are mitigated by using clamping diode in the configurations. Efficiency of the proposed converter with customized PWM is also improved superbly in comparison to the conventional converter with PSM that already I have shown you that 89 to 90%, 92%. The secondary rectified diode rating are almost half as compared to the PSM. Okay, because we have seen that how drastically the size of the component have reduced. If you remember, when we are using PSM, it was 100 microhenry, and when we use this customized PWM, it was reduced to 14 microhenry, 1/4, like that. Now, one more configuration we have proposed auxiliary circuit assisted DC-DC converter with improved performance. Now, basically, there's a small change in the circuit. You can see that we play around a one circuit only. Okay. Now, earlier, if you see the first diagram, we don't have those things. Let me come with some new color. Okay, that will work. Green will okay. See, in the first circuit, there was no clamping diode. If you remember, there was no auxiliary circuit like this. Okay. Now what we did, we have an original circuit, but we also have a clamping diode. We also have an auxiliary circuit. All things we accumulated in one circuit now. Earlier, what we did, first circuit, only this LSC and transformer and this circuit. Second circuit, we have a auxiliary circuit only with this. Third circuit, we have a diodes. Fourth circuit, we have all in a one circuit. Okay. So now we want to achieve all the benefits of all earlier three circuit in this circuit as well. Okay. So just remember, first circuit there we have only series inductor and transformer. Second circuit, we have an auxiliary inductor with series inductor, auxiliary circuit with series inductor. Okay. Now, third one, we have a only series inductor and diodes, clamping diodes. Now, the fourth one, we have a series inductor as well as clamping diode as well as auxiliary circuit. Now, all three are here in a one circuit. Now, what will happen? Because till now we have seen the effect of individual in a one circuit. Okay, individual component in circuit. Now we have all here. So the circuit, I mean uh, the the operation is almost same. Okay, you can see this is the charging of battery charging characteristics, and this is the hardware prototype developed. And I'll let you know that whatever you are, I mean, you can see in the circuit that everything we have fabricated in the lab, starting from this PCB component purchased from the market, this DSP board from the market, and this PCB design, fabrication, designing, everything performed in the lab itself. So these are the components which we have used here: IRP 460, 3060. All these components are here. Then experimental results, the same customized PWM with a modified pulse width, or you can say the variable pulse width, the same is here. We are able to achieve ZVS. These are the ZVS we are achieving here. Then after that, no spike anywhere. I mean, the shape or the voltage ringing, the spikes, those all are reduced. These are the experimental result. Earlier, when you have a circuit without clamping diode, okay, without clamping diode, these were the scenario. You have a spikes everywhere, voltage spikes here, 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 and now you can see in this everything is removed from this, okay. And you can see the efficiency also here. If you want to see the efficiency, we have a highest efficiency with that. You can see power losses with customized PWM, conduction losses with customized PWM. You can see. So this is our efficiency basically. Now I have, so I'm getting highest efficiency with a customized PWM. And this emphasis on switch selection, already I have explained that how to select a switch, because in the earlier class I talked about that for a same rating, let's say I want to use MOSFET, and lot of MOSFETs are available in the market. For example, here in this circuit I use IRP 460. So some other MOSFET are also available in the same power rating, okay, same current voltage rating, but I am using a particular MOSFET. Why? Because I told you that there is a trade-off. Basically, you need to go to the data sheet and find out from the data sheet that losses, whatever the losses are high or less. So depending upon the RD-on-S resistance, if RDS1 is high, in that case you will have a higher losses. And ultimately, try to have a MOSFET which can give you the good efficiency. Okay, so here this emphasis of switch selections, already I have explained. These are the particular switches available in the MOSFET category for a same rating. I mean, IRP 460, IXFN 64N60P, IPP 65R 045C7. So, but depending upon the cost also, which one is costly, because cost is also concern for us, because when we talking to the industry, they are always saying that what is the cost for a product, because ultimately industry means business. So switch selection is a quite important. Here 3 switches are available in the same rating, but still you have to go for a switch which can give you higher efficiency and less cost. Okay, so if you see these switches, you can see the losses associated with the IIP 65R045C7 are minimum in comparison to this one and IRP 460, but the cost is high. If you can see here, the cost of this IXFN is around 1800, and here this is 82, 820. And if you see the comparison, This one is better, 96% efficiency. So this is a cheaper, but efficiency is low. This is too costly, but not having a good efficiency. This is in a medium range and having a good efficiency. So better, if you have a trade-off between the efficiency as well as cost, go for this switch like that. Already I have explained this thing. So here the proposed converter with a customized PWM have proved better performance in comparison to PSM triggered proposed configuration and PSM operated conventional configurations. The voltage spike problem at the input of the secondary side of the rectifier has been clipped by using the diode, clamping diode as a clamping diode based auxiliary circuit. So these were the modifications. So almost all 4 circuits we have proposed, and out of those there is basically a comparison. This is the first circuit, if you remember. If you give the rating, which one is better, which one is best, okay, so this is first best, second best, third best, and fourth. Here in this circuit, because this is a summary of the whole presentation basically, here I have only single inductance series with transformer, and I used only customized PWM. In second stage, I kept a auxiliary circuit, the shaded portion or gray portion, that is auxiliary circuit. This is a modification, and with the help of this, we are able to make this circuit more precise in terms of efficiency, size, cost, weight. Then third modification, what we did, the same circuit as in fourth case, but we put a clamping diode in order to eliminate the voltage ringing across the primary and secondary of the transformer. Okay, and now whatever measures we have adopted in all over these 3 cases, all we have implemented in this topology. Okay, so if you compare these topologies, topology 1, topology 2, and topology 3, you can see 91% efficiency, 94% efficiency, okay, and this is 92%, again 95%. So first one is the most efficient. We have applied patent for this also. This is already published on the government website, and we have filed for examination also. Second best, this one, third one this, and fourth one. So we have also compared among whatever we have done. So all 4 also we have compared. Now moving further. So these are the conclusions from the presentation. Basically, I'll let you know, I'll just summarize in my own words that whatever people are doing with the resonant converters, okay, industry are using those resonant converters, and we did the same thing by using auxiliary circuit based chargers, or auxiliary circuit, or you can say customized PWM based circuits of EV chargers. Since I have told you in the beginning that the resonant converters, they are suffer with a difficult design, not suitable for high power, low output applications, less system friendly, synchronous rectification needs care, and variable switching frequency, high frequency transformer is designed in such a way that it is capable to operate for a wide frequency variation. So all those things are associated with the resonant converter. So as a solution or the problem which is faced there, okay, we propose all those 4 topologies. But you can see that in a single topology itself we did changes. Okay, that changes could be in terms of customized PWM, in terms of auxiliary circuit, in terms of clamping diode, or having all in one circuit. Okay, so by adopting all those things, we are able to conclude now that we are able to get the ZVS in all type of load condition, whether this is a light load condition or whether this is a heavy load condition. we are able to achieve that. Okay, which was a problem in the earlier cases. The customized gating scheme have been proposed, and the steady state analysis of the converter with the proposed gating schemes have been presented. So theoretical evolution of power losses with customized PWM and PSM has been mentioned and later verified experimentally. So we found that the losses are less in case when we are using this customized PWM. So for mitigation of the voltage spike across the transformer poles, diodes based auxiliary circuit has been incorporated in FVDC. I told you that we put that clamping diodes, so it reduces the stress and rating of the rectified diodes. Its advantage has been discussed and experimentally verified. So this is something we worked, latest work from our student. This is one of the patent we have applied, and these are the major publications in IEEE Transaction IT, Power Electronics, IEEE Journal of Emerging Selected Topic in Industrial Electronics, and these are few under. So a few references we have here. So now I'm open to your question and answers. I actually just didn't went to the deep of the circuit analysis because ultimately some people get bored. Okay, the purpose was just to give you an idea. I tried in the last class, I gave fully analysis. This class also I tried to give you some analysis in the beginning, but later on I found that, I mean, ultimately at least we should make it understand that what the new thing we did. Okay, just to give you an idea that this we can, the alternative of the resonant converter could be in a this manner. Okay, so we tried to achieve the whatever the challenges we have in a EV chargers. That could be in terms of you can say cost, size, weight, and efficiency. Our focus was on that cost, size, weight, and efficiency only, and ultimately by modification in the circuits we are able to achieve that. And further also, people who are in their MTech or PhD, who are working towards their PhD degree, they can think about it and can also do some analysis further and can have can design some more chargers. Can we go for a maybe a closed loop control or some sort of another type of control can be developed? Okay, because here we kept focus on the topology side, and when we think for the, because this is DC-DC size only. Okay, few of our students are working on AC-DC chargers. So ultimately the AC-DC charger is what, because this is some intermediate stage we have in between, and we found some solutions for that intermediate DC-DC charger stage. But ultimately whatever we are using for our e-cycles, e-bike, e-rickshaws, or maybe cars, that is basically AC to DC chargers. So a combined AC-DC charger can also be think upon. So all the publications are available online. People who are working in the area, they can go through it. They have any doubt, they can contact us again. And this publication is also online. This patent is also online right now because this is published on the Indian government website. So later on it will be granted, but it will take some time. So by the time it is also there on the Government of India website of patent publications. So one can take help out of it, and for anything related to this, we are always available. So now I'm open to your question and answers, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, you are developing that many a converter. We have seen many configurations. Sir, are you
Yes.
going for the reliability analysis of converters also?
Till now, we haven't think of this reliability analysis, but yeah, this is another area of research. A lot of people are working in the converter reliability, DC-DC converter reliability, but till now I have not deputed any student on that, because our right now the 7 students who are working in the lab for their PhD, they are working in different area, but certainly not in the reliability side. No one is working right now.
Yes, okay. Means if we can get some exposure on how that reliability analysis can be given from your side, that would be very helpful, sir.
Definitely, this is a very good research area. Reliability, basically, even one professor I know in IIT Delhi who are working in this area. Now he left IIT Delhi and went to Denmark. He was working in the reliability area, but we have not touched it till now. But yes, I mean, in future we can think of. Definitely, this is a good one. But right now we have a lot of problems. Our students are working and we are trying to solve them first. And a lot of areas are there. When you work, a lot of ideas comes to in your mind. So definitely reliability is also one of the area, and certainly in the future we may think of to work in that direction.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So please ask your questions related, because this is the last class of module 3. Okay, tomorrow onwards the module 4, that career development, that will start. So we, as you can see, we have invited a lot of big shots for those career development point of view. So there you can learn about so many things: industry, career in academia, how to write research grant, because a lot of faculties are available here in this module. I mean, who are attending, research scholar who would become faculty sometime later on. So they must know how to write research grant, so that they can write research grant and they can submit to DST or any other funding agency, carry out their research work. Also, we have one more session, how to write IEEE transaction. Professor Akshay Rathore will take those steps. So kindly attend those and circulate among all other people. So most of the people, or more number of people, can get benefit out of it. Okay. So tomorrow and day after tomorrow, those sessions will be there. Please ask your questions if you have any queries.
Do we have more questions?
So if we have no question, I think we can conclude.
Participants can see the module 4 brochure attached.
No,
the
better
chat
you
box.
do one thing, mail all. I mean, the career, the module 4 brochure, I think you might have sent by now. If you have not sent, so please send them through
Sir, I
email.
have sent.
Okay. So last last module left, and at the end of the day, on this 21st, we have this feedback assessment, as well as that your quiz. About quiz, Naveen will tell you later on through email. So if you have no questions, we can close the session, and if you have question, please ask. Okay, so I think Divya, we can conclude the session. We can
Yes, sir.
close it now.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting upon the various concepts pertaining to the design of the topology and the modes of operation with customized PWM techniques. Thank you, participants. Tomorrow's session will start. Thank you.
Thank you very much.